For more than a century, advertising had one job: to interrupt you. Not convince you, not entertain you, just to interrupt you. A newspaper article you were reading suddenly had an ad. A cricket match you were enjoying stopped for a commercial break. A song you loved cut off midway, and for decades this worked. It built a $700 billion industry. That is more than 58 lakh crores in INR terms. Multiple companies, entire careers, and a whole lot of industries were built on one simple idea: buying attention. This wasn't unique to advertising. The music industry worked the same way. Record labels controlled what you listened to, and radio stations decided what became popular. The film industry worked the same way too. Studios decided what you watched. Distribution meant power, but today that system is breaking. But the real shift is not that the ads are failing, it's why they are failing. People skip ads, ignore ads, and block ads, or simply scroll past them. And for the first time in history, advertising is losing control over attention. At the same time, something unexpected is happening. Brands are no longer interrupting content, they are becoming the content. Creators are becoming advertisers, and advertising is quietly disappearing. So, the real question is, if ads are dying, what replaces them? Hi, I'm Chirag Mandirutta, and in this video, we are going to break down how advertising is changing, why traditional media is losing power, why platforms like YouTube are becoming premium advertising channels, why streaming platforms are going back to ads, and most importantly, what the future of advertising will actually look like. But to understand that, we need to go back. There was a time when advertising was simple and incredibly powerful. If you wanted to reach millions of people, you had very few options: television, newspapers, radio, billboards, that's it. This was the era of attention scarcity. People had limited choices, so media companies controlled attention, and advertisers paid them to access it. The system was so powerful that brands would spend millions just for seconds. In United States, a 30-second Super Bowl ad costs more than $7 million. That's around 58 crore rupees for just half a minute, and companies still pay. Do you know why? Because that one moment can reach over 100 million viewers. But here's the surprising part: this model didn't just work, it dominated every industry built on attention. Retail worked the same way. Brands paid for shelf space in supermarkets, and better your placement, the higher your sales. Even cinema halls worked like this. The biggest screen, the best timings determined success. But the system had one weakness: it only worked as long as attention was limited. And then the internet removed that limit. The internet just didn't create new platforms, it destroyed scarcity. Suddenly, there were infinite things to watch: infinite content, infinite creators, infinite distractions. And slowly, attention became fragmented. And this is where things started going wrong for advertisers. Newspapers started dying because people got news online. Television started weakening because people stopped watching on schedule. Even billboards became invisible. The same thing happened across industries. In retail, platforms like Amazon gave consumers endless choices. In music, platforms like Spotify replaced radio. In entertainment, streaming replaced fixed show timings. And in every case, control shifted from companies to consumers. Because once consumers control attention, advertising can no longer force itself into your life. Attention is no longer owned, it is borrowed and sometimes completely ignored. But while traditional media was collapsing, a new platform was rising. In 2005, a simple idea was launched: anyone can upload a video. That platform was YouTube. At the time, it didn't look like much, but today it has more than 2.5 billion users globally. Over 1 billion hours watched every day. In India alone, over 450 million users are there. That's more than the population of the United States. But YouTube didn't win because of technology, it won because of one simple shift. People chose what they watch, not what is shown to them. And that changes everything. Because when people choose, they pay attention. And attention is the most valuable currency in the digital world. This shift is similar to what happened in music. People moved from radio to on demand platforms, in films, from theaters to streaming. In every case, control moved to the user. And that's why digital video advertising is exploding, expected to cross $180 billion globally by 2026. YouTube is no longer just a platform, it's a digital television, but smarter, targeted, and global. But even YouTube is in the biggest shift. At this point, it almost feels like advertising should have already disappeared. People have control, they choose what they watch, they skip what they don't like. So, why didn't ads die completely? Because something else was happening at the same time: convenience. And this is the part most people completely miss. Platforms just didn't give you freedom, they gave you ease, unlimited content, anytime access, zero waiting. Earlier, you had to wait for a show at 9 p.m. Now, you watch anything, literally anything at any time. And people made a trade. I'll accept some ads if I get unlimited content. That's exactly what happened with YouTube. You don't pay money, you pay with attention. The same thing happened in music. People stopped buying songs and started streaming with ads. Convenience replaced ownership, and advertising adopted. Instead of forcing attention, it started integrating into the experience. Shorter, skippable, and targeted ads. Because platforms understood one thing: if you break the experience, people leave. So advertising didn't disappear, it evolved to become less visible and more acceptable. But this balance between convenience and interruption is fragile. And once it breaks, everything changes again. Streaming platforms once made a bold promise: no ads. Platforms like Netflix built their identity around this idea. You pay, you watch, no interruptions. It felt like the future, but the future turned out to be expensive. Netflix spends more than $15 billion every year on content. Other platforms like Disney Plus and Amazon Prime Video also spend billions. And slowly, a problem emerged. Subscriptions alone weren't enough. And this is where the biggest irony of modern advertising begins. The platforms that removed ads are now bringing them back. Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, all introducing ad supported plans. This is similar to gaming. Games moved from paid to free to play, but added in game purchases and ads to survive. Streaming is now following the same path. Advertising didn't lie, it evolved. For decades, brands paid media companies. Today, they pay people: creators, influencers, YouTubers. And this shift is far bigger than it looks, because this is not just advertising change. This is trust changing. People trust people, not companies. Brands like Boat grew by collaborating with influencers instead of relying heavily on traditional ads. Companies like Mama Earth build their brands using creator ecosystem. Globally, the drink Prime Hydration, launched by Logan Paul and KSI, generated over $250 million in revenue within 2 years. No massive TV campaign, no billboard, just audience. Creators are no longer advertising products, they are becoming businesses. There's a deeper reason behind all of this: human behavior. People don't like interruptions, they never did. They just tolerated them. Now, they don't have to. And for the first time in history, audiences are in control. They skip, they mute, they scroll, they block. Even email marketing faced this. Once powerful, now mostly ignored. The same thing is happening with ads because attention is no longer forced, it is earned. So, what is the future of advertising? Three forces. First, content. Brands will create entertainment, not commercials. Second, data. Advertising becomes personal, like how Amazon recommends products. Third, communities. Brands build loyal audiences, not just customers. Which means in the future, you may not even realize when you are being advertised to. Advertising becomes invisible, seamless, integrated. For more than a century, advertising was about buying attention. The more you spent, the more you reached. And it was predictable, scalable, and it worked. But that world is ending, not because advertisements stopped working, but because people stopped accepting it the same way. For the first time in history, attention is not controlled by companies, it is controlled by individuals, by you. And that changes everything because in the new world, you cannot force someone to watch, you cannot interrupt them endlessly, you cannot buy their time unless you earn it. So here's something I would want you to think: the last time you actually remembered an ad, and what made it memorable. Was it the product or was it the story? Because that answer might just tell you what the future of advertising really looks like. The brands that win in the future will not be the ones that shout the loudest. They will be the ones that understand you deeply. They will entertain you, educate you, and then they will connect. And most importantly, they will respect your attention, because attention today is not cheap. It is one of the most valuable resources in the world. And the companies that understand this shift early will not just survive, they will dominate. Thank you.